Ciao bambini, I'm Nonno Raffa. Today I will tell you a legend, thousands of years old, that my nonno once told me when I was a little boy. It is a fearsome tale of how my homeland was created. Where I was born is an ancient land, carved from rocky mountains and surrounded by a spectacular ocean. It has many secrets and is home to fierce giants, wise hermits, pirates, ghosts, witches, and much more still. Have you guessed where it might be? Well, today we call it Sardinia, but many years ago my beautiful island was known by a different name, and legend has it that she wasn't always an island. Our story begins centuries ago, a time when life was simpler. People lived off the land and found joy in the simple pleasures of life. This place was called Tyrrhenide, and it was just west of Italy, where today we find the Tyrrhenian Sea. The little villages bustled each day with the clamor of market sellers, fishermen, and artisans. Here, there were no rich and no poor. Everyone lived a modest life and readily shared with their neighbor whatever they might need. The sweet smell of freshly baked bread filled the air, and the distant voices of the old ladies gossiping could be heard on every corner. Children ran barefoot through the dusty streets with that timeless laughter all happy children share. Sat on their doorsteps, the old men huddled together, chuckling as they watched the little ones play. It was the most peaceful place you could imagine. Even the old grannies didn't quarrel. As the years rolled by, God smiled and poured abundant blessings on them as he could see they were kind and selfless. One fateful day, a stranger appeared as from nowhere. No one knew who he was or where he came from. He wasn't like the others. His face was set with a disapproving frown, and those who crossed his path would feel their spines tingle as he fixed his icy stare upon them. He aimlessly wandered without saying a word. As he drifted about from village to village, he left an invisible trail of malice behind him. He hated everyone he met and looked with bitterness upon the many blessings they had received. His heart was bursting with envy, to the point it poisoned the very air around him. The changes were subtle at first. People experienced jealousy for the first time and began to argue. Soon, entire families were falling out, and those children who giggled together all day were now lashing out at one another. Everyone became suspicious and greedy. Gone were the days of sharing. They each kept everything for themselves. Worst still, some began to steal, and even set fire to crops and homes in a blind fit of resentment. After many weeks of creeping about, the mysterious fiend who had set this whole fiasco in motion retreated atop a mountain. The distant screams faintly echoed off the hillside, and all around the once joyful people were bitter with jealousy and could no longer restrain themselves. It was chaos. As they fought one another, a sinister grin crept across the stranger's face, and he vanished into the depths of a cave, never to be seen again. They were dark days indeed. No one could remember the life they used to know. They couldn't even remember the stranger. God no longer poured his grace upon them, and to punish them he swelled the sea, and a devastating flood poured in, consuming everything in sight. The waters raged for many days, and Tyrrhenide was completely lost. However, out in the distance, over the vast sea that had formed, there peaked a mountaintop above the water. On it were some survivors who were calling out for mercy. God could see that they were sorry for their wrongdoings, and in an instant the crashing waves grew still. God stretched his foot down from heaven, and without harming a living creature beneath him, he pressed it on the mountaintop. As the divine foot ascended into the clouds, The land below had been transformed, and the ragged mountain top was now a beautiful island shaped like a sandal. The survivors all marveled at the miracle and the magnificent scenery around them. It was even more splendid than the home they had lost. The elders made sure that future generations would learn of their frightful origin so as never to make the same mistakes their ancestors did. To this day, many Sardinians live a tranquil, humble life. It is guarded over by shepherds, artisans, and many an old granny who keep the ancient traditions alive and remind us to live a good and simple life. But wait, I forgot to tell you the island's true name. Many years after the fabled disaster, Sardinians were busy going about their day when they were visited by some friendly strangers. It was a group of people from Greece. They were told the legend of God's foot, and they gave the island the nickname Ichnusa, which means footprint from a sandal in Greek. But now, dear children, you know it isn't just any old smelly sandal. I hope you enjoyed today's story. Please visit me next time for more adventures. Ciao ciao!